Gentlemen, it is I, LG Grande, coming in slowly from the side here. Just don't want to step on my cables. So, it's time for us to talk a little bit about democracy, as the Dan would say. Democracy, democracy. Yeah, what a great song. Seeing them at the Paradise Halloween 1999 with the upper crust opening. Unbelievable. Giving Captain Sensible a piece of Milky Way for Mickey Way. Judges take that. Yeah, I gave him I threw candy up on the stage when they were doing their encore. Captain Sensible, I had a Milky Way candy bar, like a half size. He was just wearing, basically, I think he had like a caveman outfit and like a bikini bottom or something. He looked ridiculous. It was so funny. He shoved it down the front of his pants. He goes, "Oh, Milky Way, thanks, mate." Puts it down his pants. Oh, then he gave it back to me later. Like, what? I still have it. I kept it. It's a little memento. All right, here we go. A new bill in a state legislature is going to get many sensible people fuming. It's a mandate that all citizens must vote or, of course, face fines, arrest, and who knows, perhaps even jail. And it's supposedly a Democrat who's, no. Hey, there's a new bill in a state legislature that's going to make many sensible people a little bit upset. It's a mandate that all citizens must vote or, of course, face fines, arrest, and, who knows, possible jail time. And it's being proposed by, well, what would you expect? A Democrat, the party that's supposedly all in favor of choice. And would it surprise anyone that the draconian bill is popping up in, yeah, you guessed it, California? Not at all. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC TV, and the Yahoo headline says it all, almost. So let's do a little bit, no. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC TV, and the Yahoo headline says a lot. I will read said headline now. California lawmaker introduces bill making voting mandatory. Isn't that special? But there's actually more to it than one might recognize. So let's diagram parts of that sentence. For many Americans, it's the predicate clause, introduces new bill making voting mandatory, that vexes them. And while it is important and offers some lessons in logic and the falsity of the mythological social contract that collectivists constantly tell us exists and really doesn't, it's the first part, the subject, that deserves a bit of attention. First of all, it's the term California lawmaker, or specifically the term lawmaker, that's the first problem. Far too many Americans blithely accept the notion, and it is a fallacy, that there is something called a lawmaker. And of course, tyranny always follows. The fact is, politicians aren't lawmakers. They're statute writers. As 19th century French economist and philosopher Frédéric Bastiat wrote in his famous work, The Law, there's a profound difference between the law and the state. The law refers to natural law. And when it comes to law, there's only one lawmaker, God. Humans who occupy political offices aren't lawmakers in any way. They write codes and statutes and prohibitions and mandates and write up more taxes foist on sovereign, self-owning individuals. But the learning and But that being learned and remembered, this new proposal, in this new proposal, a Democrat California Assemblyman wants to institute force from government to make folks vote. On Tuesday, February 4th, Assemblyman Mark Levine introduced Assembly Bill 2070, making voting mandatory. Quote, "Democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires the active participation of all its citizens," end quote, Levine said in a statement. Ay, ay, ay. Talk about obnoxious. Levine not only gets it wrong about whether democracy requires active participation, he glibly assumes the U.S. system is a democracy. On the former, it's an oxymoron to say democracy requires active participation, since democracy is supposedly each person expressing his position, but requiring participation prevents each man from expressing his free will not to participate. So it's ideologically self-defeating. On the latter part, Aristotle and the founders understood that democracy is one of the greatest threats to liberty in the history of man. It's socialism with a mask. It's collectivism portrayed as self-rule. Well, as Frederick Bastiat also noted, the state is that great fiction by which everyone tries to live off of everyone else. Freaking Bastiat, what a dude. He was the man. Bastiat was the man. But Levine went on. Quote, "California is a national leader on expanding voting rights to its citizens. Those rights come with a responsibility by registered voters to cast their ballot and make sure that their voice is heard by their government." End quote. What a hypocrite. Do the hypocrite like the B-52s. They do all 16 dances. Meanwhile, in reality, anyone involved with independent journalism or promoting freedom actually knows that it is Democrats and collectives, on the most part, who push for online censorship, shadow banning, Google blacklists, pronoun policing, and of course, Meanwhile, in reality, independent journalists and anyone promoting freedom know that it is generally... Meanwhile, in reality, independent journalists and people promoting freedom know that it's generally Democrats and collectivists who engage in promoting online censorship. Meanwhile, in reality, anyone involved with independent journalism or promoting freedom knows that it's generally Democrats and collectivists overall who push for online censorship, shadow banning, Google blacklists, pronoun policing, and FCC straitjacketing of the web, all while promoting this kind of newspeak nonsense about voices being heard. So let's pull some lessons out of this and check it out. First of all, the first lesson is that the U.S. system is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic that is supposed to contain barriers against mob rule, i.e. democracy. And sorry, I gotta check something out here. Okay. Meanwhile, in reality, anybody involved with independent journalism or promoting freedom knows that it's generally Democrats and collectivists, one and the same often, who are on the whole the people who favor online censorship, shadow banning, Google blacklists, pronoun policing, and FCC Meanwhile, in reality, anybody who gets involved with independent journalism or promoting freedom at all knows that it's generally collectivists and Democrats, often one and the same. Meanwhile, in reality, anybody who gets involved with independent journalism or promoting freedom knows that it's Democrats and collectivists generally who push for online censorship, shadow banning, Google blacklists, pronoun policing, and FCC straitjacketing of the web, all while promoting this kind of newspeak nonsense about voices being heard. Well, let's pull some final lessons out of all this. First of all, the United States system is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic that is supposed to contain barriers against the mob rule of democracy. And democracy, i.e. two wolves and a lamb voting on what to eat for lunch, is not self-rule. Self-rule is what it says it is: individual control over one's own life. Individual liberty. And that's precisely what Levine seems to fear. The point here is that there's not supposed to be any vote over rights at all. That's why they're called rights, Mr. Levine. And they're not supposed to be subject to a vote, especially... No. The point is that there's not supposed to be any vote over rights at all. That's why they're called rights, Mr. Levine. They're not supposed to be subject to a vote, especially... Sorry, I just gotta check something out. Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah, put a little note down there. Okay. The point is that there's not supposed to be any vote on our rights at all. That's why they're called rights. They're not supposed to be subject to a vote, especially, Assemblyman Levine, our inherent right not to participate in your vile system of contemporary slavery. Hey, thanks so much for watching, one and all. Don't forget, like and subscribe at YouTube. Visit the comment section. I will be there. I love to go... Sorry. Hey, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and head over to the comment section on YouTube. I'll converse with you there, and head over to mrctv.org to find out even more about what the team is putting together. And if you want it, you can get it. It is right here, In Search of Real News. Very cool. UFO. Real news is out there. It is out there. Somewhere. Hopefully, you and I can share even more together. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith. Okay.